The choice is simple.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another one of Raka's Div-E Nations, looking at all of the teams in Div-E, or at least all the ones that played in the last week. As always, I can only actually review series where the team it actually played in week 4. The team that had a bye, sorry, didn't get to look at any of your games. I think that was Macro Machines. I don't remember reviewing them this week. The first game I reviewed was 30 Seconds to Mosh, going up against 07 Chromium. And based on the rank difference, you definitely expect 30 Seconds to Mosh to win, and indeed they do. However, here's the big thing that I want to take away from it. Even though it was a 2-0, it very easily could have not been. 07 Chromium is definitely getting better. I was impressed with what I saw coming out of that game. Whenever I actually saw them kind of engage and moving in, what I really kind of ran into repeatedly was that in the actual team fight, 07 was basically as good as 30 Seconds to Mosh, if not a little bit better. If you go back and watch that clip that introduces this match, you'll actually notice that 07 Chromium was up like 5 kills to 3 or 5 kills to 2 prior to the big team fight. And what the difference really is I just feel like 30 Seconds to Mosh is a little bit more disciplined. They would not try and go in and fight when it wasn't a good idea to try and go in and fight. They would wait until they had a good engagement, and then they would just go in and start snapping necks. I kind of feel like the 07 Chromium still has a little bit of that, like, wild oat Storm League energy, where it's just like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to land an incredible combo, it's going to be like an epic moment of HOTS, and I'm going to turn this fight around. Instead of just being like, okay, our team isn't here, let's not try and fight them just yet. Let's try and take the more boring, but more predictable, hard, like, good engages. And I feel like that just sort of like worked against them in the long run. Next up, we do have Ice Crown Citadel Queens going up against Free Hong Kong. So for this one, you would expect Free Hong Kong to win, and this one, you definitely do not get what you expect. Oh my goodness. The Queens actually end up winning, which when you ever take an opponent like this, that really increases uncertainty. Queens are definitely up above where we thought they would be. Boop boop. And Free Hong Kong below where we thought they would be. Boop boop. So even this back out. So very good set. Queens definitely showed themselves really scrappy team, able to come out, do a lot of things. This is kind of weird for me to talk about because I am on the Queens now, but I was at the time that I wasn't in this game, so I can still talk about it in the third person and like an analyst. We do go ahead and have what I did kind of notice that what kind of gives me concerns is that even though they won, it really felt like they won by peeling back and then punishing bad engages. They didn't really seem like they were able to go in and take fights all that often. It really just felt like there'd be a big scrappy moment, and Queens are good at being scrappy, so they ended up being able to carry the team fight. But I didn't really see a lot of like heads up amazing play coming out of them. So a little bit concerned about them if they go forward and play teams that are a little bit better about hanging back, being able to just play the map, because they'll need good engages.
Now, Boomer goes in and is gonna get peeled away from the stitches. APOC is out just to kind of clear them out of the way. Meanwhile, here comes the Graviton Surge, again only hitting the Diablo. Feast is out as well and only hitting the Diablo. Both teams still pretty healthy, both fighting on this objective. The objective is taken by FF and the Pancakes. So that's going to be pushing here soon. This fight has to end soon for PRS, and it has to end favorably. And unfortunately, they just lost their healer. Their tank is about to go down, but definitely getting terrible damage, getting the double kill. Maeve and Lucio compliments of the Deathwing. Diablo goes down, but he'll be back soon.
Next up, we have another like a kind of surprising series. We do have FF the Pancakes going against Sapphire, and FF does win, but Sapphire takes a set off them and looks good doing it. Like even just wow. I was not expecting Sapphire to play anywhere near as well as they did. They looked like a much higher ranked team, so I've got to move them up as well. And honestly, this is all very fluid. FF, I'll move down. You know, they're not the untoppable force that I kind of give them credit for being, and they can be toppled. They can bleed. Like, I do have to say that in game 2, I did see FF just bring back a little bit more of their like hard comp, and they did a lot better. But I don't think they respected Phoenix Rising Sapphire, and they paid for it. I definitely expect to see a lot of great things from Phoenix Rising as they start moving into teams that aren't just god tier teams.
Oh, wow. Wow. That was a huge black hole. That completely changes the dynamics just like that.
Next up, we have Rebel versus Heartstuck, and I've already moved Rebel up here. I'm moving him over here. Rebel played incredibly well. Heartstuck, I just don't know. Like, Heartstuck kind of got smashed on, and I don't... This would make it hard, because I don't know how I analyze this game, other than being like, Rebel played out of their minds. Rebel played really well. So... I don't want to, demote, like, too terribly hard, because Rebel's just really good. But there's also not to analyze about this.
Blue team's core is under attack.
Souls in Slow-Mo did go up against Frostbite. And in all honesty, I'm not moving either team here. Frostbite did take a game. It did go 2-1 in favor of Souls in Slow-Mo, but in all honesty, it shouldn't have been. Like, Souls in Slow-Mo got the core down to 2% and just kind of overcommitted, didn't retreat when they should have, and ended up throwing the game. But I do feel like Souls in Slow-Mo had that series a lot. And then lastly, we do have Yavapai going up against Beyonce Knowles. And Yavapai did win, certainly. But I will say Beyonce did end up like taking that series, taking that game. So like it's not a case like for Frostbite where, I mean, yeah, they won, but they really didn't. It's much more a case of like, no, like Beyonce's a contender. Yavapai ended up getting the win, and they deserve it. Man, this is so... Their playoffs are really contentious, and I don't know what's going to end up happening. I do feel confident that... Like, if I had to rank playoffs right now, I would say these 8 teams get in. But either... Like, a lot of these teams are able to come up and threaten. So, looking forward to seeing what we see. And we'll have to look for future weeks